Mr. President, Senate Bill 155 updates the Uniform Commercial Code. This is the code that allows businesses to interact with one another around the country. It's been around since the 60s, I believe. Mr. McGarvey is undoubtedly listening to me and wondering why I still haven't remembered when it was first codified, but it's been around for many, many decades. We've made updates to it. This body has made updates to it just like every other legislature around the country for all of those decades as things changed. As technologies change and the way business and commerce is handled changes. This bill makes changes so that businesses have rules and guidelines for how to interact with digital assets, things like non-fungible tokens, things that exist only in digital space, but you still need to collateralize or secure in some form or fashion. It allows for businesses to interact with one another using cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency industry experts and standards boards and so forth were involved with uniform law commissioners around the country. About a dozen states have enacted this bill now, with another 16 where it's now actively under consideration, including Kentucky. It passed this chamber unanimously 1 year ago. Unless there are questions, I'd move for its passage.
This passage of Senate Bill 155. Are there any members seeking recognition for the purpose of question or discussion? Senator from Anderson.
Speak on the measure, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, last year we had this bill and I voted for it because I felt like the right to contract should be supported, and that's what the UCC does. It's really a clarity for contracts. A lot of people, including myself, for a number of years had no clue really how this works. And so I got through it last year and was happy to support the right to contract. Whether or not I would necessarily agree with the provisions of somebody else's contract is really not the issue. It's what do we want to be the baseline for people's contracts. Now, we come to this year, I looked into this, I had a lot of conversations last year after it did not finally pass, and still held the same belief all throughout this whole last year. This last couple of weeks, as I've looked through this bill again, I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. And I think that there are a lot of times things that are in the bill that we talk about. And so I want to focus on, though, the thing I think is most important with a lot of bills we do, and that's what is not in the bill. If we had put the opposite in the bill, and I want to draw the body's attention to page 84. This is just one place this happens, but I want to explain relating to the issue of electronic money. So if you use the Control F function on this document, there's 28 times it talks about it. So go to the second time it talks about it. We're on page 84. And it's talking about how to ascertain control of electronic money. And for UCC purposes, this is important because you have to establish who has the money at the point in which it matters that we're discussing in anybody's contract provisions. So if somebody has control of the money, it says in this bill, in the new law, it will say you still have control of the money even if it is electronic money that has the ability to limit the use of itself or is programmed to cause itself to change or includes the ability to transfer itself or loss of control of itself. So we are defining control of electronic money to include programmable digital currency that can and has the ability to create loss of control in and of itself, not requiring any person's intervention. Now, as I believed last year, and I still believe now, if somebody wants to participate in a contract that includes digital currency, that's up to them. Right? Constitution is very clear. We have a wide right to contract. However, if we're thinking about what's not here, and that is, let's say we didn't pass this bill or we passed the opposite. If we pass the opposite to say that control of digital currency is not when somebody has a programmable currency that can cause itself to lose control, that's going to change behavior in the marketplace, because now the marketplace is not going to be able to assume control when in fact there are back doors and control is not there. And for us to say that it counts as control is similar to putting our finger on the scale or making a little bit of an artificialism. So as I'm looking at this bill, thinking through it again with a fresh perspective in the last couple of weeks, rereading it, I'm thinking that what we should do for public policy in Kentucky, knowing these things are coming, they're floating around, other countries already have them, what we should do is get creative on what our baseline legal framework is so that it becomes a behavior modification, just like we do all tax reform, everything else. We're looking for what is the best behavior that we want to encourage in the Commonwealth. Do we want to encourage people that if they get into these contracts, they can fall back on these types of provisions because even though they've lost control, they can still use these things and still claim it's actual control? I personally think, and I think it's for the betterment of the public, that we put our feet down now and say we're not going to let digital currencies that can be programmed for loss of control qualify as something that you can trade safely and claim it's under control. And for that reason, Mr. President, today I'm going to be voting no on a provision that I did vote yes on last year. And I think it's most important that we think carefully as we are getting into this area, because I will note, I have another bill that I was working on that includes the same type of concept. And me, the bill drafter, and everybody I've talked to for a year about this can't figure out the language to use. Now, I found an idea of what language to use in this very bill. This bill talks about what I just read: causing change, including transfer or loss of control, limiting the use, protocol that's programmed. It was like language that I needed, potentially, to be able to describe stuff that we actually don't have currently in our own country, but other countries do have, and it's coming. And so I feel like it's important for us not only to step into this arena, we're going to have to be careful, but I'm afraid we don't really understand what we're stepping into, and are these language choices the right thing? What does that really mean? This is definitely a new frontier and horizon that we have to be extremely careful about. And so whether or not people are sure of exactly what this means, that's even more reason to step back, be more cautious, and say, okay, here we have stuff we didn't really see what it was a year ago. We see it more clearly now, and the longer time goes on, it's going to become more and more clear. And so before we get into a situation of really hoping we hadn't done something, I think we need to be more careful about it, and that is another reason why I would urge people to vote no on this measure. Thank you.
Any other members seeking recognition for the purpose of question or discussion on the bill? Senator from Pike.
Thank you, Mr. President. As noted by the senator from Christian, I think a version of this bill did pass out almost unanimously last year, and I voted for it myself. But, you know, sometimes a year gives you opportunity to reflect, and, you know, I take him at his word that this bill does not authorize a digital currency directly. I do believe that is, in fact, the case. But what it does do by allowing banks to collateralize on it, as we've all seen with every type of risky instrument that large financial institutions get involved with, is when the bottom falls out or the balloon bursts, who do they come wanting a bailout from? The taxpayers, ordinary people. So in essence, you know, if you authorize the allowing financial institutions to use digital currencies, you know, we're owning them. And, you know, there's a debate to be had on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I think it's a bad thing because, you know, I believe that these things are apt for fraud. I mean, it seems like, you know, anybody can come up with a token and blow it up and then it come down. We've seen great fortunes made and lost in digital currencies. I mean, I had a buddy of mine that tried to recommend me on Bitcoin at $300. Maybe I should have taken a chance. But, You know, there's a lot of people that took a chance at 48,000 when it went down to 17. I mean, these things are highly speculative instruments, and I don't think that allowing banks to partake in them is good for a healthy financial market. This is just my opinion. I mean, I'm good with 95% of this bill. It clearly brings us up to the modern standards, especially the stuff about real estate transactions. I mean, this is the way of the world nowadays. But I do have concern about this one part of the bill, and therefore I will be voting no.
Any other member who is yet to be recognized on this issue for question or comment? Seeing none, I will go back to the senator from Christian. Do you have further comment?
Yes, Mr. President, 2 quick points. One, I'll direct members' attention to Section 113, which was added. It's on page 171, the second to last section of the bill, which we added from last year's bill, or added to what we had last year, to address the concerns that sort of caught fire around the country after it passed unanimously here. It got to the House and died because people thought it did something it neither intended to do or could do, and that we aren't empowered to do as a state legislature. Section 113 reads in its entirety, "Nothing in this act shall be construed to support, endorse, create, or implement a national digital currency." This can't do that. We can't do that, and this bill doesn't intend that, and now it explicitly says that it is not doing that. And then secondly, I want to respond to the senator from Pike, and I appreciate and frankly share the concerns that he has regarding the speculative nature of investments of this type and using these sorts of currency. This bill doesn't require their use. It doesn't require it. It doesn't even encourage it. But there are businesses, and again, this is the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. It is for business-to-business transactions, and there are businesses in Kentucky and around the country that are using these and who wish to use these. Now, whether or not they should, that's a fair question, but it's for them to answer, not for us. The bottom line, though, is that we have to set rules and guidelines and expectations so that when they do interact and engage in the business this way, they know what to expect. It's a uniform code. And we need to set the rules so that when they do the business that they do, they've got a uniform set of rules to follow when they do it. This doesn't pass any judgment or support or endorse or call into question anyone's business judgment about the speculative nature or consistency of their investments or their assets. But we got to have rules for them to play when they do. I move for passage.
Seeing no other member seeking recognition, all those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed vote nay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Berg.
Senator from Jefferson 26, please cast your vote, then explain, limited to 3 minutes.
I vote aye. And very quickly, I agree with the senator from Pike and the senator for Christian that I am personally not a proponent of this type of commerce. But it is the way of the world. This just keeps us with the rest of the states. It does not promote, and I want to make sure I go on record as not promoting, but I still vote aye.
Senator Boswell. Senator Carpenter. Senator Carroll. Senator Chambers Armstrong. Senator Deneen. Senator Douglas. Senator Elkins. Senator Funke Fromeyer. Senator Girdler. Senator Gibbons. Senator Harper Angel. Senator Higdon. Senator Howell. Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel. Senator Meredith. Senator Mills. Senator Neal. Senator Nemes. Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Schickel. Senator Smith. Senator Southworth. Senator Stivers.
Aye.
Senator Storm. Senator Thayer. Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner, Senator Turner, Senator Webb, Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wheeler, Senator Williams, Senator Wilson, Senator Wise, Senator Yates.
Senator from Marion.
Mr. President, I vote no.
Any other member seeking recognition for the purpose of casting, changing, or explaining their vote? Seeing none, there being 29 yeas, 8 nays, Senate Bill 155 is passed.